So, hello, thanks for being with me here for meditation with Sun and Moon Yoga Studio on YouTube. What a treat, right? That we have all this technology. So much to be grateful for. So, this morning, this week, I've been thinking about hello, about how we say hello. And as some of you know, it's a part of a practice I do. So, in the chat space, my first question, I'm borrowing from what a teacher shared with us, um, to just ask you, how are you today? How are you? To just really take that moment. If you're like me, or maybe you have a different version of some people. I know a few people who jump out of bed real energetic and full of full of readiness for the day. I'm not one of those. It takes a little time and caffeine. Um, But a lot of times we're flooded with, whether it's something physical, some heavy to-do lists, or a heaviness from sleep, maybe from dreams. And to clear a space, as Eugene Gendlin, who championed or um, codified this practice of, he called it focusing. It's actually kind of like focusing, but then being wide open, as we do in our yogic practice. So he codified this practice of of staying with, of welcoming, like my favorite poem, one of my favorite poems, The Guest House, encourages us to really, he calls it, clear a space for whatever is arising. And I've been practicing this for about three years, a little more. Um, and as Eric Schiffman, our dear teacher, says, it's a good idea to practice on the easy stuff. So in a sense, your own your own self, and asking yourself, just, how am I this morning, and dropping in to listen to that for a few moments. We're listening with all our senses. We're listening with our body, with our mind, with our various parts of our mind, our logical mind, our feeling mind that's connected to the nervous system, our heart, all of these connected to each other, and from our larger self. And by the way, if you're new to me, this is to my meditations on Sunday. This is not yet the meditation. We'll have a 12-minute timed meditation. It's a little prologue. So when you've listened here to how am I, you might, as you give it a little more time than a quick cursory, and sometimes we have that distinct feeling when we meet somebody and there's a how are you? And oh, fine. And that quick interchange that happens, that sometimes is necessary. There's not time. But we sometimes walk away from that, either as the asker or as the responder, of thinking, really, I'm not fine, or wow, that person might not have been just fine. I could tell from the way they said fine. And another question Eugene guides us into, or his method of focusing, this is a method of inquiry and a method of freedom, toward freedom, very parallel to our yogic path. Is there anything in the way of everything being all right now? You've probably heard this question in similar forms, maybe from Buddhism. Is there anything awry with this moment right here as it is? The answer could fall in two categories I'm aware of, maybe more. One is, it could be, you could notice that at this moment right here, Not earlier, not after this practice or in 2 minutes, but right here. Could be that everything is indeed just right. And so savor that if it's true. And it could be that there's something heavy on your mind, and maybe you feel it in your body, or maybe there's some bodily sensation that's truly present right now that's unpleasant, painful, burdensome. And so clear a space for that. Clear a space for that if that is true. Give it a seat at your table or in your lawn or around your fire pit, or maybe just from across the street. It might change as you sit with that. So, Yin Yang was my title. What's this all have to do with Yin Yang? A lot of times, I'm assuming you're familiar with the Yin Yang symbol. There's a teardrop like shape that's black and a teardrop shape that's white. The shape of it implies a dynamism, and within the black side is a dot of white, tiny dot, and then the white side is a tiny dot of black. Not only is this constantly in motion and changing and impermanent, these dualities, but um, in anything that we see as a certain way, all dark black, matte, and we see it a certain way, it's never absolute. It's never absolute. There's a speck, at least, of its opposite within it. And so when we sense, is there anything in the way of everything being all right? And as we sense in this very human, dynamic, alive form, maybe there's a lot that doesn't feel right. I'm going to put that in the white side right now. That's what's highlighted in my attention. Just that moment. And then within that, there's some knowing that there is something that's just right, that's safe, that's enduring, that's true, that's nurturing, that's hopeful. So, if in a sense, the symbol of the yin yang is something that has come down through the ages from the Buddhist wisdom, and we might just ponder it, just some of what that graphic symbol is, and holding it in our minds, holding the wholeness of it. That might be the absolute. Anyway, an invitation to play with in our practice. So for our seat, I'll start our clock, and maybe you've been uh, getting yourself comfortable, hopefully now, or get your seat just as you need it. I have a little support under one leg, and let's dive in together. A bell and a bow to begin our practice. I often use this tripart mantra: ground, sound, breath, to help bring myself to the portal of stillness. of presence. And if you only get as far as ground, that's just perfect. They don't have to be in that order. As you sit, you might come to breath first. That might be the first place you go. Let's do that today. So maybe you've already been at ground, at feeling your body grounded, but let's shift to breath now and just say hello, clear a space for the breath. How are you, breath? How are you? Is anything in the way of your being just right, just now? Perhaps you could notice that you could pair observing your breath with any place in your body. And perhaps do that with the parts closest and touching ground now. Ground, ground, this living, alive planet underneath our body. Does it change things to sense that the planet is alive? Perhaps she's breathing with us, this Earth Mother. And so we have this force field, this hug called gravity, this hug that holds us close to the earth. And yet we are free to rise up, to enjoy the support always underneath us, to float upward, perhaps on the breath, noticing spine, bones, our inner support. Upward into the space around us. Ground, sound, breath. So the space around us is part of the sound. Sensing our body, our stillness, our breathing right here. We also can sense to the sides of us, the room, the walls, to the back of us, the front, to the top. We're intimately linked with the space around and sound. Sound as an emissary coming to us, moving out of us. Ground sound breath landing us to confirming that we are here just now. All that arises, we can clear a space for it. Hello. We might start to sense our presence as this welcoming space itself. Takes a little courage to let go, to, as one teacher says, open the hand of thought, the thought that is over and over constructing our separate self. And just lightly open and notice yourself as if from around, maybe a behind and above yourself, as my teacher says, turn the light around. Be aware of the one sitting here. to sense that awareness as prior to all else, and permeating all. As we end and close our practice with the bell and with the bow, be awake to what feels, what sentiments are present in you as we come to this closure, as we complete this time together, as right and left palm find each other in front of the heart, this gesture that's available to us as humans, so universal. Notice what that gesture symbolizes for you as we bow together, bowing head to hands to heart. Maybe humility, maybe gratitude, maybe wishing that all beings could have a taste of perhaps a peacefulness that you got even a taste of on the cushion here today together. You have it all you need, as someone once told me, more than someone, but it's an interesting phrase. Maybe that'll be next week's. That's kind of this week's theme too.